and welcome to Sparkle of Light Spiritual Chat Show. My name is Alice Trevorrow. I'm the producer and founder of the show, and I'm also a spiritual medium and psychic. And I have great pleasure in announcing a great guest with us tonight, all the way from Australia. So isn't it great how we can all just, mix in with each other without actually jumping on a jet plane to get to Aussie land. So I would like to welcome our guest onto the show in a few moments, but I would also like to do a little introduction of who our guest is. So we have actually Elaine Bowler, Bowler. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And she's from Australia, as I said, and she is also an accredited Reiki treatment practitioner and an animal Reiki practitioner as well, which will be really interesting because I love animals, so it'll be really interesting to see how all that works with the animals as well. Elaine also is a board of director of Reiki in Australia, and it's the leading professional Reiki membership association, and also she's a spiritual medium as well. So I would like to welcome Elaine onto the show, who is known as Lainey. So hi Lainey, how are you? I know you're sitting there patiently in the background there. How are you?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Oh, I'm absolutely fine. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. I'm just going to adjust our volume a little bit. Oh, that's it. We've got it. It was a bit low there, but that's us. We're back on form. So so Lainey, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I'm really interested on your journey, especially with connecting with animals and your communication with them. But before we touch base onto that, can we just talk about you yourself? How did your journey start? Where did it begin for you, Lainey?
My journey with spirit started quite early. My grandmother passed away and she was in Australia. I lived in Scotland at the time. I actually moved to Australia as when I was 10. When I was
We'll
7,
touch base on that back as well, Scotland.
Yes, yeah. So I'm actually from Scotland, and I immigrated with my family out to Australia in the late 80s. So I was born in Scotland. I grew up in a small town called Larkhall in Lanarkshire. Yes, yeah. And I lived there for some time, and then moved over to Australia. We've got family over here as well. So, but yes, my grandmother had passed away, and I'd had a dream, and she came to me and she said farewell. She was actually over in Australia on holiday when she passed. And when I woke up, I went downstairs and I was told my parents that I had a dream, and it was very vivid. And she came to say goodbye. And I got, oh, you're talking daft, girl, the usual as you do at that age. And about 10 minutes later, the phone rang, and it was a phone call from Australia confirming that. So that was my first inkling in of having some sort of intuition. And then shortly after that, I started being able to notice that animals would respond a lot deeper to me and a lot quicker. And I seemed to know intuitively what they were feeling or sensing. And that carried on for a little while. And I love animals. Moved on to learning all sorts of spiritual development, learnt tarot cards, and then volunteered with in animal rescue. And that was where I learned energy healing, being a foster carer and learning how that energy healing and meditation can help really calm animals and help to give that connection, particularly if they've had a rough start to life. So that was how my journey kind of progressed. And then I had a near-death experience after my second child and giving birth, and then my abilities really kind of kicked off, and I had to find mentors to help guide me and learn my journey. So it's been a very interesting journey for me.
We are going to have you on to our other podcast. It's a more newer one, but it's still on the Spark of Light Spiritual Chat Show, and it's called Unexplained Mysteries. So we are going to have Lainey back with us, and we will have a chat about the near-death experience as well. I mean, I'm sure there's many people who have experienced this, and there's also different, everybody's journey with that, although it can be similar, is very different as well. So I'm looking forward to kind of going in more in depth with that with you on our next podcast. But yeah, I would like to just say to you, well done. I mean, you've came so far. So it's a journey of experience that you've had to go through to get, to where you are now today. Um, but I didn't know that you were originally from Scotland, and Spirit are just, they're amazing. They seem to be doing this. They're bringing me on guests, and I had one on a few weeks ago from Jersey, and she's originally from Scotland, and I never knew that either. So it's amazing, how things open up, and also how we are all connecting as well. And it doesn't really matter what country you're in, there's that connection as well there. So Australia, how do you feel in Australia then? Have you settled in Australia compared to Scotland?
Yes, I'm fairly settled here. My family's here now, and I've got my animals. I do love it here.
Yeah.
I actually recently I had a quick trip fly back to Scotland actually for a family member who passed away earlier this year. So I came back for 10 days, and also managed to go and do some Reiki development while I was over there. So, but I really want to come back and have another trip and holiday. I still feel I've got roots there spiritually. It's walking, as soon as I stepped back onto the soil, I felt it through my soul. So it was very unique because I was so young when I left. So, but I feel connected to both. Very much, UK is my spiritual home, but Australia is my physical home as well.
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. Can I just ask though, what time is it over there just now then, Lainey?
It's just after 7 in the morning. So there's about
7 in
we're
the
11 hours
morning.
in front.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, we're
So
8:10 here in the evening, so it's very cold here. It's very cold, damp, wet, windy.
that
Frosty the
I don't
Snowman will
miss.
be out soon. Yeah. So
That I don't
what's
miss.
the weather like
Just
over
like
there? Is it warm?
yesterday was really warm, and then we had a late change last night, and we've had a bit of rain overnight. So I went out this morning to do some grounding this morning and take the animals out and for their toileting, and it just smells so beautiful. I can smell the gum leaves, we've got magpies in the trees behind us, so we get that too. It's beautiful here today. It's going to be a bit cooler, so which will be good because we had a real hot spell last week.
So how many animals have
I
you got,
haven't
Lainey?
adjusted to the heat. I've got 2
No.
cats and a dog. So animals have been very much a big part of my life growing up. We even brought our dog from Scotland to Australia when we immigrated. I was so connected to a dog, I couldn't leave her behind.
Oh, no, of course not. No.
Yeah, so she came out to Australia with us, and so I've had cats and dogs, but the animals that I have now, because I'm an energy healer, that they actually come into this room, the Zen Den I call it, and they actually announce that they're waiting for their morning meditation sessions, and they're quite vocal. So I love watching how they've changed with the Reiki energy in the house as well. So it balances everybody. It brings such a beautiful energy.
Can you actually pronounce the Reiki that you do? I didn't go there with that.
So all forms of Reiki lead back to Usui Reiki, which is a Sensei Mikao Usui, and he initiated quite a few masters. So the Reiki that I practice is Shiki Ryoho Reiki, which the lineage comes, it's the Western lineage. So that's the one that came to the Western world.
Yeah, that's the one I wasn't going to pronounce because I knew I would get all that wrong.
I still have trouble pronouncing the Japanese terms as well. So, and I've been doing this for many years now. So
yeah,
it's not my forte.
So so how long did that take you then to do
so
that?
I learned therapeutic touch when I volunteered in animal rescue, and I found that was really helpful with shelter animals. And that intrigued me because one of my dogs that I had went on to have medical conditions. So I was looking at all complementary therapies that would help her, support her through her treatments. And that was how I learned Reiki. And then when I moved to Ballarat, I accidentally stumbled upon a Reiki share one night, but it was for practitioners. But the lovely master allowed me to stay and become a part of it. And that experience was so wonderful that took me to lead me to practice Reiki and to learn Reiki. So I learned it 5 years ago, was initiated into level 1. And then the following year, my first teacher was unable to continue. And Reiki actually guided me to a new teacher. And so I rang this lady, and we kept missing each other on phone calls, so we corresponded on emails. And all I knew was she came from Scotland and she had an opening next week for her Reiki class. So she quickly said,
Really?
look, I've got an opening. Yeah, slot in, please come. So when I turned up on the day, I spoke with her, and she was Scottish and lovely lady. And we got chatting. We came from the same village in Scotland, which was halfway around the world. I'm in Australia, and I meet the lady who lived in my same town. So we had a bit of a laugh about that and started talking. And I said, oh, whereabouts did you live? And she told me her street name. So I told my street name, and she said, we lived on the same street. And I said, no, we couldn't have. She said, we must have at some stage. And then I asked her what house number she lived at, and she told me her house number. And my face went white, my jaw dropped, and I could not believe it. She had lived in the same house as me. So her family had lived in the house. Her grandmother owned the house, and she lived with her grandma for a period. And then her family sold the house, and my family bought it. So not only had we lived in the same house directly after each other, we'd actually lived in the same bedroom in the same
Oh my
house. And
goodness. Oh my
so
goodness.
Sue became, and as a child, I had an invisible friend called Susan. So go figure that.
Oh,
Yes, so
oh,
I had, I considered I had a pretend friend called Susan, and that was my favourite name. I'd fancy it up to Susanna, but so
yeah,
she lived in the
yeah,
same house. So halfway around the world, I met the same lady. And not only is she a
yeah,
Reiki master, which I wanted to learn Reiki, but she teaches spiritual development, and she's an evidentiary medium. So
yeah,
if Reiki wanted to get me, my biggest
yeah,
synchronicity of the
yeah.
world was to go halfway around the world and meet the lady who lived in my house, and she
I
teaches Reiki.
feel, yeah, I feel your gran was way behind all of that as well. Very much so. Yeah, yeah. Do you
So,
know, it is, things like that, stories like that, there is no such thing as coincidental. That
no,
was very much
spiritual
spirit led.
synchronicity,
Very
definitely.
much spirit led. Yeah. That's
She
lovely. It's a
started the
lovely
tele.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a lovely story. It really is, but
thank
it's a
you.
real story,
Yes,
and
it's very real.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And even for you to have that childhood friend with the same name, it's like
Yes,
you were kind of spiritually still attached to the person who had originally lived in that home. So it's
yes,
beautiful. It's really nice. Yeah, I'm glad
yeah.
that all kind of happened and you're still friends. But I do feel your gran was behind that for sure. Yeah, yeah, you've got a strong
My
link with your
fluffy.
gran. But then, am I right in saying your gran was very spiritual as well?
I believe so. I believe so. I have some memories. We talked a lot about things, so she was very open about
Mm.
spirit with me,
Yeah,
and of course, she was. Other adults when I was as a child would talk about things, and other adults would be it's taboo. We don't talk about that. But my gran was actually quite open. She encouraged me to talk about
yeah,
things. She grew up in the early 1900s and 1920s, which was the height of
yes.
spiritualism as well. So I'm sure she
Mhm.
knows a lot about that on the other side
Yeah,
now. When she's part of my
yeah,
spirit guide team, I'm sure I feel
yeah.
her
And
around me a lot. So
a lot of things then back then too, it was all very closed doors behind, that nobody spoke about it, nobody wanted to admit about
no,
it, but it didn't mean it wasn't there and it wasn't happening, yeah. But yeah, I I'd like to just talk also. I know you said you did some work on the animal rescue, but also I know you do let animals lead Now I know I was reading a little bit about that on your website, and I thought that was really interesting because I know it's all animals that you work with, you know. And
Yes,
so
yeah,
yeah. So can you explain a little bit about what the animals lead part of it is? Because I know there
sure.
seems to be some sort of protocol with that, doesn't there?
Yes. So with general Reiki, if you've ever had an energy healing session, generally the practitioner will have their hands on the body or hovering just above the body and the energy centers of the body. And there's some certain hand positions. So there's a sequence of hand positions that we use for people. Sometimes animals don't respond to the direct touch as well. And that's where Let Animals Lead come in. A lady over in America called Kathleen Prasad. She worked in animal rescue for a long time and she developed this technique, which is the technique that I found I've been quite successful with. It's called Let Animals Lead, and there's 6 main principles. And the first one is consent. Let Animals Read Reiki is not so much based over hands-on. As we know, we're all connected. Universal energy flows through the plants, life force energy, unseen forces, and connects us all. And what practitioners do is we're not using our own energy to heal. We're actually tapping into the divine source energy that is Reiki that comes from above. So it's pure
Mm-hmm.
source. It's not connected to any religion, and it's pure. And with the Let Animals Lead method, it's more meditation based. So Reiki as a
Right.
spiritual practice is meditation based. And when you ask the Reiki to flow through you and breathe and practice your breath work, you expand the Reiki energy from yourself, from your heart space, and it expands outwards. And Let Animals Lead is primarily based on that aspect where the practitioner will breathe, do breath work, and set that safe space like an energy bubble, and the animal is free to move in and out that bubble energy space. And we only use hands on when the animal presents and invites the invitation to, yes, I would like to accept hands on healing. Otherwise, they may just lie at your feet. You can sit in a shelter outside and meditate and share that energy to the heart space. You offer it with consent. So you actually offer it to the animal, and the animal will choose how they want to receive that energy. So you're actually tapping into more intuition. The Japanese Reiki is very much foundational on a philosophy called Kokoro, which they believe the heart, the mind, and the spirit are one. They don't
Yeah.
see a distinction as separate beings. We are all part of one of earth and nature, and that's how the Reiki flows, by being sitting in that oneness and accepting us being perfectly imperfect as we are. We surrender to the outcome and we allow Reiki to flow because it's intelligent energy. It knows exactly where to go. So you don't have to have your hands on certain areas that require the healing. It's just enough to set the intent that you're freely offering the Reiki energy for the highest good of the person receiving or the animal receiving. And animals then, I can sit in meditation outside, and animals will actually just come and sit in that space around me. And opening my eyes and seeing birds sitting there in front of me, only less than a
Yeah.
metre away is pretty something special when you're in that oneness space, when you connect with source through Reiki.
Yeah. So what type of animals then would you work with?
I work with cats, dogs. I did equine training, and I've
Hmm.
also done
Yeah,
some
seen
refresher
that.
training
Yeah.
as well. I love working
Hmm.
with horses. That's really
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
Primarily dogs. I do like working with dogs. I have a very deep connection with them. Um,
Hmm. Yeah,
so
me too.
and yeah, and my cats as well. As I
Yeah.
mentioned to you earlier before we came on, in the morning when I'm making my coffee, it's usually a race with the animals into my meditation room, and they're sitting here waiting for me. Okay, Mum, we're ready. Let's. And
Yeah.
they sit there and they purr and they fully soak up that energy. It helps to keep them balanced. We
Yeah.
recently, one of my dog passed away a couple of months ago or 6 weeks ago,
Oh, I'm
and so we're all
sorry to
just
hear that.
readjusting to the pack
Yeah.
hire. Thank you so much. So we're all just adjusting to the pack hierarchy and spending lots of time together at home, just connecting and then readjusting to, you know, one less in the household. So
it's very hard, very, very difficult. Our dog passed away and just in when was it? March. Our dog passed away. And you know, like today I'd got a Christmas plaque. It's a bauble, but it's and it's to go in the tree. And I got a lovely picture of her, and I'd ordered it weeks ago. And it's funny, this morning I was just feeling a wee bit low in energy, a wee bit down. I was thinking about her, and you know, and I thought, you know, it can hit you at any time. You know, it's just like, it's grief. It doesn't matter, you know, it's whether it's a person or an animal, it's the same. It's just the same. And lo and behold, here this Christmas bauble arrives this morning. And so she's up on the tree just now, but you know, it is hard. It's very, very hard, because it's like you as well, it's your first Christmas without
that's
you know, and
Mm-hmm.
although I've got another dog as well, you know, it's an individual love, you know, and the personalities, and I love my dog dearly, you know, but it's still a different personality, it's still a different dog, it's a different love, you know. So yeah, I do feel for you. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. And I think you have to be an animal lover to understand that. just how it can affect you.
It is a perfect, and as mediums, we both know that life continues. This is just one stage, but we still have to deal with our grief, that they're physically no longer with us. You know, they're busy on the other side at the moment. Yes, and that's hard to adjust to, even though we know life goes on, and we're so grateful we have that connection in our heart space. We're always connected, but it's still allowing yourself to honor that grief process. And the firsts are hard, aren't they? Seeing the empty bowl, or you think you hear the tags, and then you think, oh no, they're not. That's not them.
Yeah, I know, exactly. It just little things, you know, just little things. Have you had any experience yet of your dog still being around you?
Yes. Tennis balls. I keep finding them. I've vacuumed, I don't know how many times since she's gone, and they keep reappearing in the furniture down the side of the couch. And I found one this morning. Lights flashing. I don't know necessarily it's particularly my dog, but I can give you one example. I was out walking with my other dog, and he doesn't play with a ball ever. And we're out walking, and he's sniffing in an off-lead area, and he comes bounding out of the grass, so excited, bouncing around like a puppy, and drops a ball at my feet. And it was a pink and yellow ball that I had lost on a walk maybe 6 months ago with my other dog. And he just brought it towards me. So for me, that was the moment I knew she was still around and with me.
Still around you.
She's still there. He doesn't play with balls, so why would he grab a ball? And it was her ball of all things. It still had a name on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a sign. You know, we've had signs here as well. So yeah, I know what you mean, though. But I mean, that's a major sign, because what kind of dog was it that you had that passed?
She was a border collie cross Kelpie. So
was she? Yeah. Ours is a
black
Springer Spaniel. Yeah. I've got a cockapoo now. What have you got? What have you got?
He's an American Staffy cross. He was a rescue.
Oh, is he?
So I'm not really sure.
Is it a rescue dog? Bless.
Yeah. Oh, they're all ours are rescue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's see, when the other night it was blowing a gale here. It was really windy and raining, and I was thinking about animals in the shelter, and I know everybody does a good job there, but I was thinking, do you know what? I would love to just rescue loads of animals. I don't have the room or the capacity to do it, but or you know, probably the time to do it, but you know, I understand you rescuing a dog as well. I do. I understand that. It must be a great feeling to know that you've rescued that dog and you've brought that dog on, and it's got a lovely home, you know, and you're giving that dog a chance in life, you know. So Yeah, it is beautiful. It's really nice. Have you
Well,
had any dogs or horses even that have been a little bit more challenging to work with the Reiki, would you think?
yes, I've had it when, how do I phrase this? So I do distance Reiki, distance energy healing as well. And as I
Mhm.
mentioned before, you have to have consent from the animal. So if I say human companion, I don't like the word owner. I believe
How do you
sentient
get that
beings.
consent though? How do you get that consent from the animal?
So when even distance healing, when I'm connecting with a human, we always
Hmm.
ask for consent.
Yeah.
So with an animal, I generally work with spirit guides. So as yourself, you would have spirit
Yeah.
guides. I have a spirit team who work with me. I don't
Hmm.
take claim on my abilities. They all help me
No,
do the work
of
that I have to
course.
do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so generally, I will ask the animal that I'm working with. So I tend to connect with them energetically, spiritually before I meet them in person. Or if it's just one on one, I work with a photograph and I enter that. I guess the best way to describe it is I raise my vibration to become a bridge to the spirit realm, and my guides connect with the animal that I'm working with, and they help to, I guess, communicate. They become the translator, so to speak.
Yeah.
So animals generally communicate with me in visions. So they will send a clairvoyant picture to my head, generally showing me that they're accepting it. So they might, if you offer Reiki and an animal's accepting it, you might notice them start to yawn or stretch out and relax. Or they
Yeah.
might
Yeah.
roll over and expose their belly, or they might just settle down and
Yeah.
start snoring. So there's lots of
Yeah.
different ways to seek
Oh.
consent, but generally I'll ask my guides as well if I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Three's the magic number. Ask three times, and then I just
Mhm.
listen to my intuition. If it's a yes, generally if I'm asking an animal, would you like to receive, a no is a brick wall. So my guides are pretty much that's what I got shown as a visual in my
Mhm.
head, that an animal doesn't want to accept it.
Yeah.
And then when they
Yeah.
do, my guides show me, it's like Harry Potter when they go to Diagon Alley, the bricks open up, and then I see myself sitting next to an animal spiritually, and that's how the healing
Yeah.
for me happens. Everyone works differently, everyone's abilities work differently, but yeah, I seek consent. And I have had animals say no, not just now, or no, thank you, maybe later. And if
Hmm.
a client's paid for me to do a healing session, generally I'll try and connect with that animal 3 or 4 times to offer the healing, so that at least I can
Yeah.
explain to the the, uh, the human companion. They don't want to receive it, or yes, they are happy to receive it, and then we communicate spiritually with the animals. Um,
Hmm.
it's been a lot of
Yeah.
work, and it takes a lot of work. There can be errors as well. I've got to be careful not to place my interpretation on what I'm being shown. I might be shown
Yeah.
something very, and sometimes the
Hmm.
owners can be a little bit. I can't believe my dog just dobbed on me, or told me off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
they've called me out on
Yeah.
something. How did you know that? You can't know that. Well, your animal told me.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, they see
Yeah.
more than we know, than they let on.
Yeah. Have you got any stories that you could share, obviously without names, that, between the what you receive in the Reiki between the animal and the owner? Have you got anything at
Yes.
all?
Uh, yeah. I've had one cat I worked with last year. Was a lady who lived overseas, and I was working with her and her cat. And the cat was so chatty. He was a little enthusiastic about throwing his owner under the bus about the things she shouldn't be doing and the things she should be doing and she's not doing. And that was really funny, actually, because it really showed
Yeah.
how cheeky his personality was. And he was stealing food and hiding things and wouldn't let the owner know. She was saying, I've got things going missing all the time, and it was him stealing things and hiding them around the house and just wanting attention. Just, oh, he's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's being naughty in the house. He's not playing with. He's doing this. It's like, yeah, he's trying to get your attention. you know. So
Oh, I love it.
yeah, there's there can be some very funny stories that come with that. I
Yeah.
worked with a cat over in the UK. My brother's cat, he was moving house, and his cats are indoor and outdoor and move around quite freely, and they quite enjoyed the freedom that they had. And they were not interested in moving house to begin with at all. And I'm like, guys, the house, you need to, you've got to help daddy. You need to go into the box. You've got to move house. I'm going to help you. So I actually worked with them for about 2 months, and finally he was able to catch them. But the
Yeah.
information, things that the cats were
Mhm.
telling me, they were telling me lots of stories about my brother. And he's like, I don't believe you're talking to them. And then I would say something, and he's like, you can't know that.
Well, I do.
um, yeah, so just little things like, they kept showing me that they were stuck in a cage. And I'm thinking, you're not stuck in a cage. And then my brother called and he goes, guess what? I got the cats 2 days ago. We've moved house. It's all happened. And it had been 2 days
Oh,
since I'd had the last session. So it had all happened, but all I could see was a cat behind bars.
oh,
So to me, I didn't
yeah,
understand, was it in a shelter? No, it was in its
yeah.
cat carrier in the cat
It was
being
there.
moved house. So not happy being in his
Yeah,
cat carrier. So they can be quite. They have
yeah.
personalities. So
Yeah.
it's
But I can't understand it though. It can't be all that great to be in a cage getting transported.
no, or I don't like going to the smelly room. The smelly room where I get sticked with a pointy end. I don't like that. Going to the vet to see a needle. Things like that. They
Oh
have strange
yeah.
ways of communicating things. So
Oh yes, of course. Yeah. Oh my dog when she goes to the vet. Oh my goodness, she shakes so much. Her teeth chatter. And and she knows as soon as we arrive in the car park, and she's trying to hide underneath the car. As soon as we untie her, she's like, woof, underneath the car. Don't, no, I don't want to go, mommy. No, but
my
it's
dog
hard.
doesn't
It's
like.
so hard.
We're
Yeah,
working on nervous energy and things like that. So you can set your intent for Reiki healing for animals as well.
yeah,
So for me, I'm working with my dog. He doesn't like the car. He gets quite nervous in the car because he
right.
associates that with going to the vet. So we go on lots of walks, but he's not like doesn't like the car. So I send
No,
healing to the car and the situation, and for him to keep him calm. I can send it to the vet room before we go there, and I have noticed when I do that in advance preparing, it makes them a
yeah,
lot calmer before I go. So the Reiki can work in wonderful ways. It always works for the highest good, and I'm always amazed to see the difference that it can have. An animal can, have such a positive effect from one session, or if it's deep-seated trauma. For example, if they've been in a shelter for a long time, they have that
yeah,
shelter stress. Decompression can
yeah.
take some time. And I enjoy teaching people about meditation. The Reiki's meditation based because that helps to calm the owners, and it also helps to calm the animals as well. And it helps them to bond, animals that have been rescued. So
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do enjoy
yeah.
seeing the differences and how they react to the energy
Oh, yeah.
healing and
I'm
see how they
sure.
progress.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I'm sure it must be lovely that, when you see, like kind of before, middle, and after,
Yes,
how the transitions kind of taking place with them. It must be beautiful. With working with horses as well, is it a little bit more challenging with a horse?
yes, yes.
Yeah, I think
So
so.
when definitely I've worked with horses. I actually have a certificate in animal care and animal studies as well, through a TAFE.
Okay.
So a lot. I guess the best way to I'm an animal care attendant, so I could work with I can work with animals. You have to have that, to work with animals with Reiki as well. So you've got to have that accreditation to work with
Yes, of
animals.
course.
So with horses, it's a little bit different. When I was in Scotland earlier this year, I got to go to a wonderful place in Scotland, in I think it's Blairgowrie, Carbeth, sorry, Carbeth, and it's
Oh, Carbeth.
Spanish. Yes, I went to Carbeth, the Spanish Brumbies. It's
All
called the
right.
Medicine Coat. There's a Reiki
Okay.
master out there.
Oh,
Her name's Laura Barber, and she runs the Medicine Pony Tribe, and she has rescued Spanish Mustangs and brought them over to Scotland, and it's a wild
right.
herd. So I actually got to do hands-on energy healing, a professional development day with some wild Spanish Mustangs, which was really amazing. So you walk through the herd, you basically set your intent that you're offering it freely. If they'd like to accept, they can approach you, and they come and approach. So with horses, obviously, you keep your eyes open because you want to be able to notice their body language. With all animals, you do keep your eyes
Yeah,
open
of
when you're
course.
working with them to pay attention to their body languages, any nuances that you might notice, and also just to pay attention if they're sensitive. When you're brushing the energy around them and things like that. We don't use our hands unless the animal invites it. So working with horses is amazing. When I was working with the Spanish Mustangs, Laura was teaching me to connect with them on that spiritual, emotional level. And I was quite intrigued that I was shown some information. The horse showed me her leg. She showed me some food. I saw a visual, and then I was able to say to Laura, her left front leg, was there an issue? Oh, there was a couple of months back. It was a bit sore, but it's healing now. And that's what she was showing me.
Mhm.
She was extending it, feeling good. She showed me her favorite foods. I mentioned that to Laura. She's like, yep, that's one of her favorite foods. So watching how the horses move in and out the space. Obviously, you don't want a horse standing on your foot. That can be could
No,
be an
no.
injury. So you're
Yeah,
very
of
tuned
course.
in to the body languages of the horses. But you can also work outside of the stall, and I can also work distantly with photographs as well. So I'm still working on animal communication. I'm still learning and developing that, and I'm training with a mentor.
Hmm.
But I am noticing I'm getting, the more I practice and the more I connect with animals, the more the human companions can verify some of the information that's coming through. So, but it's really good
Hmm.
to see that you're able, and animals feel validated and listened to when their owners seek that spiritual. Hey, can you do animal communication? Can you talk to my horse? He doesn't want to, he doesn't like to go into the lorry for transport. Can we work on that? So Reiki can work in so many different ways, but primarily we're all sentient beings and we all have free will. So if an animal
Yeah,
doesn't
of
want to do
course.
something, we don't exert force on them to do something that they don't
No.
want to do. We allow them to be, and they're perfect the
Yeah.
way they are. But it's interesting
Yeah.
to have that experience with wild horses
Yeah.
as opposed to someone's horse that they ride regularly. There's a lot of
Yeah.
difference
Yeah.
in
The
working with
difference in
them,
the
which is
energy.
beautiful. Yes, and
Yeah.
it's a higher energy,
Hmm.
very, it was, yes, something very special. I can't put it into words. I guess the best
No,
thing
I
to
know.
say is if you ever have the opportunity just to go to a meditation healing session with horses, do it. It's something that you will stay with you forever. It's
Forever.
a
Yeah, that sounds
profound,
wonderful.
life-changing energy experience.
It does sound wonderful. I must get the more contact information about that. I do quite fancy going
Yeah.
and trying that myself. Yeah, and it's not too far from where I live either. So it's yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It
definitely.
sounds
You have to.
really, yeah, sounds wonderful. It really does.
It,
I
it
love
was. It
all
was a
that.
wonderful
Yeah.
experience.
Do you know, there's nothing nicer than when you're in the presence of your animal, whether it's a dog, a horse, a cat, rabbit, anything,
Yes.
you just all of a sudden just feel this calmness and peace, don't you?
Yes.
And when you look into their little eyes, it's like you're looking into their soul, you know, and they just get you and they understand you and they understand how you're feeling that day without you even saying anything. Our dog is very, very intuitive, and like most dogs and animals are. um and if my husband is maybe just needing a little bit more strength that day, she'll spend a bit more time with him. If I'm
Yes.
needing it, she'll be with me, and they can sense as well, and they can smell if you're in pain, because Mia will come to me and she'll maybe start licking my knee or my wrist or wherever, that I'm having pain that day with, because I have see different types of arthritis, and she just knows, and she can smell it, she'll sniff at it, she'll lick it, and I let her, because it's good for them too. It's good for the serotonin in their brain. Apparently, if you let a dog lick you, it helps them as well. It's a mood enhancer for them,
Yeah.
as well as it's a healing for you. I don't know if you've heard of that, but I was reading up on
Yes.
that, and yeah,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's very interesting. Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
amazing. And so
I
many
just,
dogs are,
yeah, I love
they're
it.
so
I love it.
intuitive.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the scent. They can smell it as well. They can smell. Oh, there's inflammation there. It's like they're smelling that. So I know that you work as well with palliative care, and people maybe care of the elderly, and people who are going through cancer.
Yes.
And you do go and you attend these places. How does that work then, Lainey? And I'm sure it's very, very much appreciated. Do you bring
Yes.
an animal there? Do you take an animal
No.
there with you?
No, over here, unfortunately, I've not had. You have to have animals specially trained to do that. So there are
Okay.
already some therapy animals that do go into different care settings in the hospitals, and that's here in Australia. We have a system called Delta Dogs, and they go in and do therapy in aged care homes or hospitals and things like that.
Oh, good.
I got involved with that with one of my first dogs that I had when I lived in Melbourne. She was a deaf dog, partially deaf, and she was what we called bomb proof. And she she was great around animals and kids. When my children were born, she would drop on the floor and commando crawl next to the children when they were learning to walk. If they fell over, she would help them
Oh,
get back up. And she was just the most wonderful, sweetest dog. So when I work in hospital with patients, I work in a wellness centre. So the local hospital here in Ballarat was one of the first hospitals in Australia to implement Reiki healing for cancer patients as an alternative therapy in their wellness centre. So anyone who's undergoing treatment or has currently undergoing treatment, they can have up to 10 complementary therapy sessions in the wellness centre adjacent to the hospital.
all right.
They offer lymphatic massage, Reiki, acupuncture, deep tissue massage. There's a few different types there that are available. And
Yeah.
when I would volunteer, I called them up and just said, I wonder if you offer Reiki at the hospital. I heard you do. And she said, we've actually got an opening. Would you like to do a 3 month, a 3 month
Mhm.
period? So clients would book in through the wellness centre, and there was a lovely little room there. I would obviously bring them in, fill out the consent form, just talk to them to ask of what they would like to get out of the session. Most of them were looking for just something to help them calm. A lot of the
Mhm.
time when they're having treatment, it feels like their treatment's happening to them and that they're out of control of the medical environment that's happening
Yeah.
in that journey for them at
Yeah.
that point in time. So Reiki healing, we offer it freely for the highest good of the recipient. A lot of the clients would just come in, they're just looking for something for relaxation. Um,
Mhm.
they would find a lot of people report, if they're cancer patients, that Reiki helps them cope with the nausea that often comes with chemotherapy or
Yes.
radiation. It would
Yes.
lessen their symptoms. Um,
Mm.
Reiki actually has a scientific, medically proven. When you have Reiki, it actually produces a parasympathetic response in the body. So it takes you from that flight or fight response down to that optimum rest and digest state. And if
Mhm.
we release that stagnant energy in our bodies, it helps our body energy to flow better. We might think better, we may sleep better, we might have less aches and pains. When we're a little bit more relaxed, our pain is lessened. So if you have
Yeah.
arthritis, you would know that mindfulness practice is very much part of when you're highly stressed, your pain increases as well. Of course, obviously,
Yeah.
with other
Yeah.
activities. And it's the same with cancer patients. At the wellness centre, they have that opportunity to have treatments for free, complimentary, as part of the wellness centre. So they would come in, a lot of them were just coming looking for something just to help support them feel better, and they were there for relaxation. A lot of the time, you know, I had one client who didn't tell me they had a headache, but when I started the healing, immediately in my head, I felt pressure. So I actually just said to the client, are you feeling a lot of tension in your head today? And he said, oh, yes, I am. And
Mm-hmm.
I could feel it because it felt heavy in my hands. And after the session, he said to me, my headache's gone. That's great. I don't need to go and take some Panadol now. Thank you. So Reiki can work. It benefits. We don't give guarantees. We can't control how it will benefit you, but it only ever works for the highest good. So in the cancer centres, some people who are terminal would come for the spiritual aspect of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
More so because I am a highly spiritual person, just wanting to know that there's life after death. So a lot of them,
Yeah.
I would just sit there and hold space for them and just allow them to talk and just hold space with love without judgment. A lot of it, sometimes they didn't want a hands-on session. It was just sitting and talking, and I would hold their hands and they would receive Reiki that way. So not necessarily lying down on a bed. Sometimes it was just sitting. Some clients would just prefer to sit, and I would just have my hands on their head and shoulders, and that was enough for them. It
Mm-hmm.
worked. I really enjoyed working there. It was wonderful. I met some beautiful people, and I had
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity to, for that moment, bring some light into someone's life and to make their day that little bit better. And to me, if I can bring a little bit of love and joy into someone's life just by being my true self with love and compassion, then I've made that world a better place. So
You've done
that
the
was
job for
important to
spirit
me.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
important to me. I think we've all been touched with someone we know someone who's had cancer or a serious
Mm-hmm.
illness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And volunteering at the cancer care centre was something that was important to me to help support people. So I did
Mm-hmm.
that for some time, for about 3 months. So it was lovely. And I'm wanting to try and, when I begin teaching, my whole idea is to teach people to learn Reiki themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
then when they're ready to go on to do professional development, if they want to give Reiki in professional settings, then that's where Reiki Australia comes in, and we support Reiki professionals to interact with the public and clients. And we're hoping to, Australia's so far behind the UK. UK has Reiki in so many more hospitals than Australia does, and as
Yeah.
so freely
Yeah.
complementary to all treatments. And I was lucky to, in hospital when I was over in Scotland visiting my brother who was ill, I was allowed into ICU to give him Reiki as well, which helped improve
Oh,
his
right.
recovery too. So that was something
Yeah.
special. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, a lot of people just come for Reiki just for that wellness aspect. A lot of people were curious; they hadn't heard of energy healing. So seeing that it was in hospital, a lot of people were just curious. What is it? There's such varied methods of Reiki as well. So a lot of people were just curious to find out more, and that was
Mm-hmm.
great to be able to educate them that it does no harm. It's just a complementary therapy. It's mindfulness, and it can help improve your lifestyle as well. It brings harmony and balance.
Do you do online workshops? Do you do anything like that?
I'm starting to, yes, with Reiki
Yeah.
Australia, I've done a couple of workshops. I've run a couple of Reiki shares online. So it was a 2 hour, couple of hour meditations where I
Okay.
popped up a slideshow I'd made, and we talked about some different meditation methods,
Mm-hmm.
about Reiki. And then I took them through a guided meditation to meet their
Mm-hmm.
spirit guides. Some other times
Yeah.
we just did some workshops, hand positions. So yeah, I do. I'm starting to enjoy that, putting myself out there
Yeah.
and coaching people. I'm still quite fresh at it, as the teaching aspect, but I'm enjoying that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I help people
It's
because
all about
if
the
I can empower,
intention, isn't it? Yeah. It's all about
well,
the
uh,
intention behind it all. Yeah.
definitely.
I know
Right.
I was just reading a little bit about your own journey as well, and you help people also with, is it ADHD and CPTSD, depression,
So
etc.
yes,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
that's what
How
I'm
does
quite
that
passionate
work
about.
for you? Yeah.
I have to be mindful of my own mental health. So I
Because you suffer from this yourself, don't you?
yes. So I've
Yeah. Okay.
CPTSD is a complex post-traumatic stress syndrome. So I
Right.
don't like to I don't like to take on ownership of a
No,
condition. So I say
no,
that I
no.
live with it and I manage it. Um, yes,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
words are very important, and we like to speak positively about what our intentions are. So I'm neurodiverse, and I was late diagnosed at 41 as having ADHD,
Really?
which all of a
Really?
sudden, yeah, hyperactivity, can't sit still. You can probably see I'm talking with my hands. I'm jiggling my feet as I'm talking. So when I was
Yeah.
diagnosed, it made sense for me that my brain works a little bit differently than other
Okay.
people. And I communicate. I've noticed sometimes my communication, uh, sometimes what I'm trying to communicate is not understood by the person with what the words I'm using. So I found my
Yes.
brain works
Okay.
a little bit differently. Sometimes I have to explain myself a different way. And
Mm-hmm.
when tasks are explained to me, my brain works differently as well. So for me, working with Reiki energy healing, um, it's calming, it restores harmony and balance, it
Mm-hmm.
clears your energy centers, it helps to ground
Mm-hmm.
me to the earth, but it also helps me to connect with the source, divine source.
Mm-hmm.
Reiki is a mindfulness, so meditation mindfulness has helped me to manage my symptoms. I notice when I don't practice my self care daily with my self treatments, if I skip a day, I'm a lot more
Yeah.
highly stressed. I don't cope as
Yeah.
well. So
Mm-hmm.
I find the reason I want to be mindful of mental health issues is I've been touched by someone who's taken their own life, and
Yeah.
people who've not reached out. So with Reiki, and with what I'm doing spiritually, I want to support people who've suffered depression. I've been there myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I've managed to, with Reiki, pull myself out of that and help to live with it and not allow it
Mm-hmm.
to overwhelm my life. So Reiki became that
Mm-hmm.
guiding light in my life, that self-care is important. I can't pour from an empty cup, and I
Yeah.
can't help others or be the best
Mm-hmm.
version of myself if I'm not filling myself up either, if I'm not doing the work for me. It all starts with me. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to be the best person that I can be. And that's bringing Reiki in helps me cope with any feelings that I'm having. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's the moment I can reset it any day. I just ask for the Reiki to flow and give myself some healing, and it helps to calm me. And it
Yeah.
helps with my brain. So I
Yeah.
like to be able to help other people if they're suffering from depression. I can't promise to cure you, I don't offer that, but
No,
I
of
can
course
sit
not.
with you. I can sit
Yeah.
beside you in the dark, and I can be the light and allow you to, you don't need to hold on to that heaviness. Everyone has the
Mm-hmm.
ability to make that choice every day, and it is a daily choice to
Mm-hmm.
connect with the light and to find the things that bring you joy and your glimmers. And I
Mm-hmm.
work hard at maintaining my mental health, and that's why I want to share Reiki with the world, because it's been such a
Yeah.
profound blessing to bring healing to my life too. So,
And I'm sure there's many, many people who are any of the listeners out there will be listening to you right now and saying, wow, there's someone else who understands what I'm going
yeah,
through, and because they're going through it themselves. I don't believe, that in the society, in the world that we're living in, that we cannot go through, you know, trauma, we cannot go through depression, we cannot go through anxiety, because it is part of our journey, I feel, in life. But I also know that there is a lot now of labeling certain things,
yes,
and when I was younger at school, you know, there was none of these labels that were out there, okay, because it
no,
probably didn't understand it back then,
yes,
you were kind of like maybe said, oh, that person's a little bit different, you know,
yeah,
which I think is even worse, to be honest, but really it could have been any of those things, ADHD, it could have been any
yeah,
of the kind of anxieties that children go through. um but it comes from a source, I believe. It comes from a source, because we all come in to this world and we're innocent, and we come in
Yes.
with love and purity. Something changes in our life that causes the post-traumatic stress, or it causes a depression, or it touches on the ADHD part of things. Something causes that. It's not just our brain deciding we have got this. I believe that there will be something. If you go right deep into the core and pull it out, there'll be something there that caused that from the very root. And
Oh,
I totally applaud you on the fact you constantly work on yourself, because I do work on myself as well. And I
yes.
feel that if you're working with spirit world, you have constantly got to work with yourself, and you've
Yes.
also got to keep yourself away from people who are not working on themselves, who are challenging you to perhaps, situations you do not want to go there on, because it brings
Yep.
in that negativity. So
Yep.
I, I feel, as you get older, you see that with people, and you see the light that's dimmed. You can see their lights dimmed, so the one your light to be dimmed. So you're kind of just like, okay, all right, I send in you love here, and I really hope you find that light soon. But I'm not going back to that little girl, years ago, who grew up with the trauma, who grew up with the anxiety, who grew up with the insecurity and the depression.
Yep.
I'm not going back there, because I've been there and I've worked
Yes.
hard on myself, and spirit world have helped me, and are
Yes.
still helping me. And I do believe that is what's happening with you, Lainey. And in doing so, you're helping other people, sweetheart. You're helping other
Oh, yes.
people, and you're meant to be on here. You're meant to be on this podcast, because there's people out there who's going to be listening to you and thinking, my goodness, you can feel the love, the compassion, and the empathy there, and you can feel you're a beautiful soul. But you know what, Lainey? Sometimes we've got to be broken to fix those pieces, to get us back stronger again. And you are a prime example of that. Prime example.
I think our emotions, our experiences that we have, I think when we have a lot of build up of emotions, I think emotions are just energy that have nowhere to go. And when we choose to be busy and we're focused on what we're doing, we're not looking at how our environment's impacting our body. I think a lot of us, we're very
Mm-hmm.
busy. We ignore those gut feelings a lot because we feel that we have to live up to certain expectations and standards. And I think we discussed earlier that a lot of us limit ourselves, and we place unfair boundaries upon ourselves. So I think we all get to a part of our life where we realize, I don't want to live in this sadness all the time. I want to become a better version of me and find that joy in life. And I've lived in the darkness and I've been
Yeah.
there, and I want to know that I want other people to know that you can heal yourself. You just have to
Mm-hmm.
set that ability. And anyone who knows me will say I'm the most stubborn woman in the world. So I'm persistent and
yeah,
persistent and
yeah,
stubborn.
but
And when I
yeah,
decide
but
I'm
that,
going to do something, that's what I'm going
yeah,
to do. And
yeah,
I guess that's my superpower, the ADHD. I'm
it is.
hyper
It's
focused
the
on
fight
certain
back though,
things, but
because you've had
everything
to
else
fight
goes to
back.
the side.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I
So,
understand that.
so if I
Yeah,
can encourage other people to share their light as well. And,
yeah,
life is a beautiful place. We just have to find that beauty and see it. And sometimes we have our blinkers on, like horses have blinkers, and we're so focused on what we think is important, we're
mm-hmm.
missing all the universe bringing all those other important things into our path. But because we're so focused on one item, we don't see all the other beauty and other opportunities that we are choosing to ignore. They're passing us by because we're not open to them. They're not quite there. You know, we're at the
Yeah.
gate, we're lining up, there's hundreds of people, they're handing out all these blessings, and we're so focused on our phones or
Mhm.
materialistic things that we're missing those opportunities. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful we connected. You know, it's amazing how these things happen, that we were meant to
Yeah.
connect and have this chat today, because, you know,
Yeah.
from Scotland.
Was
I
that
can't
what you
believe
were
I'm
going
talking
to?
to Scotland.
Yeah, I know. Was that what you were going to talk about? You said you'd something to tell me. What was it? Was that it? Do you
Oh,
know?
the synchronicity about meeting the lady who lives
Yeah.
in my house in Australia, the
Yeah.
Reiki master, and she's an evidentiary
Yeah, that
medium.
was it.
So
Yeah, I thought it was that.
I
Yeah.
won a the thing I was going to tell you was she had run an online mediumship reading to win a competition to win, and it had closed. And I had commented on it after it had closed, and she'd already written the winner's name. And the following day, I get a message in my inbox, and she said, "My Facebook's malfunctioned. Your name now says that you're the winner. So apparently, you've won a reading." So she had to do two readings. She had to give one to the other person who
Yeah.
actually won. But then the next day,
Uh-huh.
Facebook said that I was the winner. So she contacted me and I had a reading. What I was about to say was my gran had orchestrated it. So it started, she said, "Oh, I've got your grandmother here in spirit." And she gave me a name, which I knew straight away. I was able to verify because she gave me my grandmother's birth name, but my grandmother's
Yeah.
name was changed when she was a couple of weeks old, and she gave me the initial
Okay.
name, not the one that I knew.
Okay.
But what
Okay.
happened was my reading got hijacked by my partner's grandfather. So she started the reading. She said, "I've got a lady here." And she said, "Hang on, I'm being shown something else." And she described the man she's seeing, and she described a few other things. And as soon as she said that, I knew exactly, because I'd seen my partner's photo of the
Yeah.
grandparents at their house.
Uh-huh.
So my partner's grandfather in spirit hijacked the reading. My partner got a 45-minute reading, and then finally my grandmother came back through on the spirit medium reading. So my
Yeah.
partner was out in the shed, and the medium says to me, "I'm seeing wood, I'm seeing tools, and I'm seeing this particular," describing a tool. I said, "And I'm seeing a driveway and all fruit trees." And I said, "I need to stop you there. I know what you're talking about, but this isn't for me, it's for my partner." And she
Yeah.
said, "Oh,
Yeah.
Spirit's hijacked the reading. You better go get your partner, because this man's insistent. He's not going anywhere until he communicates what he needs to say." So, yeah, my reading got hijacked by my partner's granddad in spirit. So,
Yeah, yeah. I suppose,
so
that does happen, as and if there's a message needing to be said, the
they will
lights
make
on,
it.
you're like, whoa, here's my opportunity here, I'm coming in. Sorry,
Yeah,
but I'll only be a few minutes, but I need to pass a message on here. Yeah, that's
yeah.
happened to me
And,
quite a few times as well. Yeah.
and
Um,
I think
and
it's
it's nice
beautiful.
because there's something obviously your partner needed to hear,
Yes.
so
Yep, there
and
was a message there, and
yeah,
the door was open. He saw that door and he said, "Excuse me, madam,
yeah,
can I just pop?
I'm
Can I just
here.
jump in front?" So
Yeah,
yeah, it's amazing, and as I said to my mentor, we're still friends. It's 6 years later, and we still talk all the time. So the fact that I came halfway around the world to meet the
yeah.
lady who's going to be my mentor, and we've become amazing friends, and it's
Hmm.
just, yeah, it's
It
wonderful,
is
because
lovely. Yeah, and then
it,
you're on
it
a
gives me
podcast
memories
with
of
a
Scotland
Scottish
back, because we
medium here.
reminisce as well. Yeah, we reminisce about different places as well.
No,
So
that's,
it's
no, there's no such thing as coincidence, right enough. It's very spirit led.
no,
So, what's coming up
uh,
for you? Have you got any plans for the rest of the year or next year?
um,
I know we're near
because
the
I
end of the year now. Yeah.
no, at the moment I'm redesigning my website, so I'm trying to redesign my website. As I mentioned earlier, for some reason, about a month ago, a couple of days after my dog passed away, my
Hmm.
website crashed and I could not get it back. So
Hmm.
I figured Spirit was saying, "Look, maybe we've got somewhere
Yeah.
else to take you." And then Judith reached
Hmm.
out and said, "Would you like to come on the show? Alice
Yeah.
would like to meet you and to talk to you." So I'm
Yeah.
just surrendering to Spirit at the moment to see where I'm meant to
Yeah.
go. I would like to teach, so I'm in the process of writing some Reiki manuals at the moment. I'd like to do some
Yeah.
more mediumship development. My mentor's running some more classes next year. So
Hmm.
I want to run a Reiki share in Ballarat as well.
Yeah.
So we've got quite a
Lovely.
few Reiki practitioners. So I'd like to, yeah, I guess I'm going to see what
Yeah.
spirit guides me to do next. I'm
Yeah.
open to everything. So
That's right.
I
Yeah.
guess,
I mean, we can
yeah,
put that intention out there, but they can change it at any time.
uh,
You know, before
I'm,
you know it, you're doing something. You're like, "Well, I didn't see myself doing this because I never seen
that,
myself doing this just now podcasting." No, 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 no. But here you
you know,
go,
so
and I'm enjoying my journey with them. It's another learning curve, isn't it? And they like to get us diversifying as well with them,
yes,
you know. But it's all very much working and connecting with spirit world and getting spirit led and opening it up more, I believe, to the world, you know, which is lovely. It's really nice, you know. But
definitely.
what
Well, I
I
think we're
always notice,
spiritual
and
beings.
yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. We're spiritual
Spiritual beings
beings
have a
living a human
human
experience,
experience.
you know.
That's it. Definitely.
And it's a human part that we grieve, you know, when we lose someone, because it's that physical connection. It's a physical part.
Yes.
We do know that they're all right. We've already connected with them in the spirit world, but it's a physical part we miss. You know, it's, you know, and we're only human. We're only human because we are living a physical life. So, you know, although we do believe, and thank goodness that we have got that belief and faith and knowing that there is life after life, it does not stop the pain of losing someone you love, you know,
No.
physically, not spiritually, you know.
Yeah.
So I totally
I like
get
to
where you are with that. Yeah. Every
I like
time
to
I
say
work
that
on here,
they live in our hearts.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but every time the light goes on and off, you know, there's a light goes up, flashes on and goes off. That happens a lot when I'm working with spirit world. You'll just see a light flashing, going really, and then it goes back to normal again. You know, and it's the energy, isn't it? It's the energy and the electricity of it all as well. And even though you're
Yes.
in Australia, you don't feel to me like you're in Australia. You know, I feel like I actually said this, I think, earlier on. It's sometimes it feels like you're just next door, and that's what it feels like just now. It feels like that with
It
you,
does.
you know.
It
It
feels like we're
does.
sitting somewhere having a coffee, having a chat.
It does. I know. If only, Elaine, if only.
If
Yeah.
only.
The other side of the world. So it's great
Oh,
that we can do this though. Yeah, it
thank-
is. Yeah.
it's such a blessing.
So
I'm so lovely
no,
to meet you.
yeah, before we kind of close up a little bit, so yeah, we'll definitely get you back on again because I have got, I think I've mentioned this earlier on, it's a new podcast, but it is through Spark of Light Spiritual Chat Show, and it's called Unexplained Mysteries, and it will be once a month, and it will be on a Friday at 9 p.m, where I will have guests on who will be just telling us a little bit of, you know, their experiences, you know, that they've perhaps, you know, had, you know, like paranormal encounters, premonitions, near death experience, reincarnation, astrology, astronomy, anything at all that has brought a kind of experience that is perhaps needing to get a little bit more dug in, a wee bit more deeper, and opening up a little bit to our listeners who probably have had an experience similar to the guests that we have on the show, and it just gives everybody a little bit food for thought, or even some questions answered as well. So if anybody would like
Sounds
to be a
amazing.
guest on the show, I've got a few people lined up. Then just get in touch with me. Just a brief outline of what the description is, and it is to myself, Alice Trevorrow at gmail.com. And I will be sending a date over for our lovely guest this evening, who will be having a little chat about her near-death experience that she had, and also we have two guests on that show as well. So so it'll be a very interesting concept on that night. Again, this show, please like, subscribe, you know, share. It's free, so it just helps us all grow as well. And you know, onto our YouTube channel, which I have shown earlier on. So we do really welcome that. very much. So we're on every Tuesday, 8 p.m. on YouTube, on different other sources, which is broadcast to Apple, Spotify, which is on a Thursday at 8 p.m. Google, Amazon, Stitcher, Radio Public, TuneIn, Podchaser, and there's loads more as well. But I kind of am in the throes just now, Elaine, of changing my whole production company. So I am, my brain is fried trying to understand it all, but doing my very best, you know. And I think I told you a story earlier on where I was following all the examples. I was following the actual course to do with this broadcast production, and Spirit are saying, no, don't do it that way, do it this way. And I'm like, well, but it's telling me to do it this way, and it's not working the way they're telling me. But okay, I'll try it Spirit's way. Yeah, it did work. It worked fine. And I was like, well, what on earth? Why is all this description on this telling me one way and it doesn't work? But yet Spirit are saying, no, don't do it that way. If you click on this and you change that, it will work that way, and it did. You know, and they just never cease to amaze me. You know, I'm just like, oh my goodness. You know, so yeah, so yeah, so think about me while I'm learning all this, because it's not easy. And I think as you get older as well, you know, I think everything are set to try you.
Yeah,
I really do. Yeah.
Sometimes technology is not our friend, I think, with the higher
it's
vibration energy we carry.
Challenging. Yeah,
It's a bit
it's
dicey.
very challenging. Yeah. But even when I ask my son, who's very up in technology, he'll say to me, oh, I don't know anything about this kind of stuff you're doing. Oh, that's a way above what I know. And I'm thinking, really? Really? I'm like, well, okay. I'm really learning here then. You know, because he knows his stuff, you know. So yeah. But yeah, for me, there is a few things coming up. Okay. So this Thursday, in fact, we will be at Art and Cable Hotel in Helensburgh. If I can find that, I will put it on. Just bear with me. Yeah. So we have our psychic mediumship night this Thursday, and the doors open at 7 p.m. And it will be myself and Clara Farland as well. And we will both be doing a psychic mediumship demonstration, but there will also be angel prizes to be won on the night. So it'll be a lovely evening. And it's at the Arden Cable Hotel, Shore Road, Helensburgh. Tickets at the door. There is also tickets that can be bought through Eventbrite as well. But you can buy the tickets at the door, subject to availability. Okay. And yeah, and we do obviously, because I do my podcast and all the other technical stuff that I'm doing with it, and also the Arden Cable itself, we do charities throughout the year as well. So we have our own charity through Sparkle of Light, and we have their other charities too. And I have got one. I'm just I should have wrote it down, but I've not wrote it down. But if anybody wants to look into my website as well, not my website, my Facebook page, and my website's not up yet. I'm still dithering about with that one. I'm finding that hard. I'm finding that hard trying to change my website right now. Yeah, but we have actually, if I can find it, we have got the charity is actually going to Tribe Sanctuary at gmail.com. So it's an animal, they're all different animals, and what they do is they rescue all these animals who would have been possibly put to sleep, you know, because they were too unwell or they were unwanted, and they nurture them and they get them well again, they get their strength back emotionally, physically, And so they volunteer all that, so they kind of look for donations. So I was reading a lot into that. So if no one's heard of them, Tribe Sanctuary, if you look them up, they are based in Scotland, but I found this really interesting to actually read up on them and what they're doing. And so I that is where some of our donations are going to this year. And I'm also will be running a Christmas event as well, our Christmas podcast, which I'll be announcing next week actually regarding that, and it will be getting topped up with that too. So if anybody's interested, come along to our psychic mediumship night, where there will be partial donation to Sparkle of Light, partial donation to our outgoings, and the expenses that I'm out to run everything that I'm doing, and also cover our mediums' travel costs as well, because they, nothing, petrol doesn't
Donating their time.
doesn't go in wind, So yeah, I wish it did. So it would be great, save us a fortune, but yeah, and also the Tribe Sanctuary as well. As I say, look it up because it's very interesting. So we will be doing that. And also we have a Christmas one coming up. I cannot believe we're near Christmas. I love Christmas. I love Christmas. I love Santa. I hope Santa's listening. I've been a good girl all year, honestly.
Yeah. You're on the good list, on the nice list.
Yeah, you'll be down the stairs saying, "No, you've not. No, you've not."
No lump of coal for you.
I know. So we have our Christmas Sparkle of Light, psychic mediumship demonstration, Wednesday, the 11th of December, and doors open at 7. It starts at 7:30, and it's at the Arden Cable Hotel in Helensburgh. And I am working with who am I working with? Can't remember now. That's terrible. I've been working with that many people now, but I'm working with another medium that night, and I'm looking forward to working with that. It's been right out of my head. That's terrible. Do you ever get that? Do you ever get brain fog?
Amnesia.
Brain fog. Oh my goodness! It's really. I think it's. Elaine Claire, Elaine Claire O'Neill, So I'll be working with Elaine Claire O'Neill. I know, how could I forget? I know. So I'll be working with her on that. Yeah, I know. So I'll be working with her that night, and we will also be doing psychic. We'll be doing cards, etc. But on this night, we will be doing a Christmas cracker competition, and I'm not the cracker. I'm not the cracker. There will be a Christmas cracker competitions. There'll be more than one, and so it'll be a lovely evening. And can I also just say as well that at the Arden Cable, all dogs are very much welcome. So you can bring your furry friend along, and I make sure they've all got their dog bowls and their water bowls, and they have little dog treats as well, so they're not missed out. So you're more than welcome to bring your companion along with you. So I kind of think that's all for me just now. Can I just ask before we leave, and I don't mean to put you on the spot on this. I think I put Paul on the spot last week, but you know what? I think it's the best way, because Spirit then just go with it and they tell you what to say. Any inspirational words to our listeners that you perhaps think would help them in some way, or they are funny in some way? Whatever comes to your head, just go with it. Yeah.
Give yourself compassion and grace.
Yeah.
You can only do your best. That's all you can do. Give yourself some compassion and grace. Be gentle.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's a difficult time of year for many. It's a difficult time of year for many people.
It is. Yes, it is a very difficult time of year.
And so be gentle on yourself. Reach out to your loved ones. Reach out to anyone. And if you feel alone, there are people there. There are spiritual churches. There are shelters, there are community groups, there is lots of support at this time of year for anyone who's grieving or struggling. And I think it's really important just to remind everyone of the helplines and things like that. If you're struggling and feel alone, there always is someone to talk to, and to give yourself compassion and grace.
Yeah. Is there
Love
many
makes the world
spiritual
go round.
churches in Australia, Lainey? Is there many there?
Yeah, there is quite a few. Unfortunately, both of them are about an hour and a half to 2 hour drive from me, unfortunately.
Oh, right.
But yeah,
Okay.
when I was younger, yes, I used to go to a spiritual church, and they would have
Yeah.
mediumship
Yeah.
demonstrations, and that's just a wonderful
Yeah.
place to be. It's very
Yeah.
loving. So.
Yeah. It's beautiful words, and you're right as well. You know, also be kind to yourself. You know, because we forget to be kind to ourselves, and I think it's so important that we're kind to ourselves. And even if there's just that something that you want, you know, or and I don't mean materialistically, I just mean you want to achieve in the world, you know, never doubt yourself, never put those limits there, because you're here to grow, you're here to learn, and you're here to do the work for spirit world. No matter what you may think you're doing isn't working with spirit world, trust me, it is in many, many forms. So I'd like to thank you so much, Lainey. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to you being back on the show again. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show tonight.
Thank
So
you
good
so
night.
much, Alice. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been
Stay
lovely.
on
I
though.
appreciate it.
Don't disappear. Don't disappear. I'll
Okay.
chat to you afterwards. Okay. Yeah. But thank you. Thank you for being on the
Thank you.
show. And to all our listeners out there, can I also say, look after yourself and each other and take care. Until next week. Good night or good morning, wherever you are.